Hi everyone, it's Gerard Cavalinas, and I wanted to share my story today on how I got into IT and how I got started in my career overall. It's funny because most people, right, they either have a love and a passion or they just fall into it by accident. Mine was a little bit of both. So that started with me getting in trouble. My mom grounded me because, of course, I was running the mouth, as I should have, and she told me to go clean out the basement. And when I was cleaning out that basement, I'll never forget it, I found two Dell Inspirons. I think they were 1500s, right? They were just two old desktop PCs and the old IDF cables. So before SATA. And I went down there and I started fiddling around. I had a screwdriver. And it's so funny because as I went down there, I realized, I said, Mom, do these work, right? I think they were dead. And she said, I don't know, figure it out. And that's exactly what I did. I figured it out. I started learning the hardware, the software aspect, and I made this Franken Inspiron 1500 computer. It was really cool, and I was so proud of myself. I went upstairs and I showed her. It took me about 2, maybe 3 days because I was still learning, and I put it all together quick. It did work, right? And the VGA port actually still worked. Everything worked on it. And I'll never forget that. The look on her face, she goes, you're not bad at this. And eventually she told me that I could make a living. I said, wait a minute, so I could make a living off of tearing apart electronics, figuring this stuff out, like actually troubleshooting it and then fixing people's problems. She said, yeah. And I feel like that was without question, that was the defining moment for me. That's when I got into IT. It wasn't too long after that. I then went to the Career Technology Center, which I'm very honored. I'm still a board member for them, helping the next generation of IT professionals along with all this other stuff. And I went there, and my teacher and my mentor, Mr. C, I'll never forget it. That first year was really gave me a granular deep dive into what computer repair was. That was like my foundation, right? Like that's how I started off in IT, was computer repair. And then the best way someone explained it to me at one point in my life was that it was like the medical field. There's so many different areas and niches and different, levels and roles you could go into, and it was either networking or programming, and then you kind of just went on your way. That's changed a lot today, but for me, when I started that's what it was. And I remember our first year, I didn't even touch a computer. We actually had circuit boards, and we had capacitors, resistors, and we would make little LED lights, fans, all kinds of stuff to understand how the current worked, right? How to actually use a multimeter to do hardware troubleshooting. That was so fun. And if you screwed up, you got the printer job. So got pretty familiar with those. After that, it was just one thing after another. And then after, the electronic boards, we eventually did start getting to touch client machines and teacher machines. And, we'd get on service calls for the school. And that was really cool. After I graduated from there, I went to a 2-year school. And then I just kept my education rolling from there, and actually it was through Geek Squad. I've had a couple of my friends and colleagues, fellow content creators, work for Geek Squad as well. And that was awesome because, I felt Geek Squad gave you even more fundamentals. It took what I knew, got to use it as an internship, paid one. And that's where my love of networking fell in. I had to redo the network drops. And once I did that, it was just skyrocketing from there. Technology's changed a lot, not to sound too old, but again, when I started it, like virtualization wasn't even that big of a thing. It wasn't even really a thing yet. There wasn't a lot of virtualization tools. VMware was on the up and up. So it's really amazing to see how that transition and how that change and growth in the IT community has really taken everybody by storm. But as I went on, I will say I didn't focus a lot on certs. I mean, maybe I should have, but I valued at the time more getting that hands-on experience in each one of my roles. So I just wanted to sponge it in. I wanted to learn from, these senior engineers, senior network administrators through all of my roles. It was help desk, network admin, system admin. I was an IT administrator at one point, doing pretty much jack of all trades, master of none. I've had a lot of those roles right up into, even my network engineering roles today. That's always been one of the key things for me, is to be able to have that growth and sponge. But there are a few things you can focus on, in your IT career. And I'm going to highlight that in another video. So many great certifications, especially through CompTIA, Cisco. Great starting points to always not only just supplement, what you're learning hands-on, but also be able to give you a way more broad advantage as far as learning how to test take and a lot of cool, other aspects to all of that. But my journey started with me getting grounded. I know I'm sure it's not too interesting, but that's my story, and I hope you all really enjoyed this little tidbit of my, into my life and how I started in IT. If you love this, subscribe to the channel for more great content, and I'll be talking to you all soon.